Good evening, everyone. We haven't done, it's been a minute since we've done a late night event live here on Facebook, but we're here tonight because we felt like this one was pretty special and we wanted parents to be able to bring their younger readers in for this one. Tonight, you are watching an Evening for Young Readers Live. The book this evening is Courage, My Story of Persecution with local author Freshta Tori Jan. Hi. Freshta, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. If you're watching tonight, please feel free to drop any questions in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to know. So Freshta is actually a student here in Grand Rapids at Calvin College. She is the founder of So True Products and serves as a public speaker for marginalized groups. And like I said, she lives here in Grand Rapids. So without further ado, I actually have a copy of your book and I'm going to show it. So we have copies in the Grand Rapids location, Okemos, and in Ann Arbor at Nicholas Books. And we're going to work with Freshta to come in and sign some of them so you guys can get signed copies as well. So Freshta, why don't we start off? This book is your story. Without telling the book and giving away the whole story, of course, could you offer us a synopsis of the book?
Yeah, thank you. Well, thanks for having me here. Yeah, I'm so excited to do this with you. So in this book, I talk a little about my childhood and just my experience as a woman coming from the minority ethnic group and what it was like growing up in Afghanistan and just the different events I experienced and just talking about an issue that should have received a lot of recognition years ago, a genocide that's happening in Afghanistan that the world, despite how involved the international community has been in Afghanistan, does not know about.
So let's talk a little bit about the process of pulling this book together. It's actually part of a series of books called Eyewitness. So how did you come to be the author of this particular book?
Yeah, so about 2 years or maybe 2.5 years ago, I got involved with this activist organization, the International Congress of Youth Voices, and I went to this big conference in Puerto Rico after the hurricanes had caused a lot of damage there. And I met some great activists from all around the world there. And then I met Amanda and Dave Eggers, who are directors at the Hawkins Project. And so we kept in touch. And about 1.5 years later, they contacted me and they asked if we could do this project together and release my story. And so it was a combination of efforts to get this project going and started and now released. So I have them to thank for making this a reality.
I love that. In writing this story, how long did it take you to write this story?
Yeah, I think the process was maybe about 1 year or maybe like a little over 1 year long. And it was definitely a very emotional process. In a lot of ways, it was very healing for me. And in other ways, it was hard to remember those harsh memories that affected me and shaped me into the person I am today. A lot of it was a lot of incidents that were just really hard to even believe that they happened to this day, like the loss of my friends and the numerous experiences that my family faced because we had different ideologies and because we, belonged to the ethnic minority, the Hazara ethnic group in Afghanistan. And I guess in a lot of ways, it was also like therapeutic. So, throughout my journey of, coming to the US, I had been receiving a lot of therapy and my memory had actually blocked off so much of those harsh memories to where it took me a very long time to start remembering those. And so I had them written down as I would remember them. And when this project came to be, it was so healing to finally bring those memories together and just reflect on what had happened and how I was going to use that to continue my activism journey and to fight the fight that my friends couldn't fight for anymore and my parents couldn't.
What age were you when you came to the United States?
I was 15 when I came to the US.
So everyone, this story is written for young readers. It's very easy to read. Showing the pages. So they say from ages 9 to 11. What is your hope for these young readers in sharing your story and for them reading it?
Yeah, I hope that they are informed about some of the darkest crimes that are happening around the world, because this is the generation that we are going to depend on to lead our society, to be the leaders that shape our economy, shape how these different political and social events roll out in the future. And it's leaders like this that we need to invest in and keep them informed if we want to prevent the same events that history should have taught us. We don't want another Holocaust. We don't want another Rwandan genocide, just, because a lot of our leaders have failed to learn from those lessons. And so my hope is by educating and informing the younger generation that we will have a generation of leaders who are a lot more informed and motivated to fight for the truth, to stop more crimes against humanity.
I also want to say that I think that your story is so brave for you to put on paper. It's so brave to do that. And for kids, I have 2 younger ones. And so for them to see someone using painful events from their past to put on paper, that it matters. And I think that that's very beautiful. I think that's something that they can definitely take away from that.
Thank you.
So I know you talked about some of the more challenging stories that kind of came up in the writing of it. Were there any memories that came up that were good memories?
Yeah, I guess a lot of it was just thoughts of memories of my childhood and my interactions with my dad. I didn't have too much time to spend with him, but the memories I did have with him were ones that helped me be creative and resourceful for the rest of my life. And so when my dad had been tortured by the Taliban, and that had really negatively impacted his health. But so it left him paralyzed and took him away from being the main provider for my family. But even, with all of that, when I started school, he would cut off tree branches and turn them into pencils for me. And he would show me how to, we have these utensils that we use that we put in ink and write with them. And it's called nai. So he would show me how to use that, and he'd show me how to do calligraphy. And he was a very, very artistic man. So I get a lot of my artistic skills from him. So those were some of the fun memories that came up as we were writing this story.
I love that. I'm glad that there was some good memories that came out of it. If anyone that is watching, there's quite a few of you watching right now. If you have any questions for Freshta, please go ahead and drop those in the comments. I keep looking down because that's where I can see the comments. Feel free to drop them in there and we will ask them, especially if you're watching with any young ones as well. I want to read real quickly the back of this book because it took my breath away for a hot second, because I think it's the things we take advantage of. We don't we don't recognize that it's the world we live in. And so I just want to read this real quick. The stars looked so beautiful that night, and I couldn't get enough of them. I kept going back outside, and my sister kept taking me back inside and telling me not to move. I wouldn't listen to her. And when I went outside again, she finally took me into the house and told me that those weren't stars in the sky, but bullets and rockets flying over our house. The Taliban had come. They were attacking Herat. So I just wanted to read that because this book is amazing. Freshta, I want to share a question from Amanda. Amanda would like to know, are you going to be writing another book?
I do hope to, but I don't know when it would be, but I do have thoughts and the intention of releasing another one. Mm-hmm.
Another question. What is your favorite part of your book?
Ooh, I think the part where I'm thanking everyone who has helped me in my journey, people who allowed me to not be homeless, those who helped me go to school and get my education, be my support system when I was going through a lot of different storms in life, and you know, all the different ways that all these people that have helped me, and you know, my lawyer, Amanda, Dave, Jan Skyruma. There's a long list of people that I have to thank. And yeah, those will be the last few pages of the book. So thank you guys for helping me get to where I am today. I honestly could not have done it without any of your help.
Do you miss anything about your home country? And what do you like best about living in the United States?
Yeah, I do miss the music, the food. I miss just all the different varieties of like foods we had, the gardens that we would grow in the spring, and just getting the chances to meet family whenever that, you know, chance did come up. And I've enjoyed everything here in the US, you know, my freedom to go outside, to drive, to go to school. You know, obviously there's even school shootings here in the US, but knowing that the level of security I have here has enabled me to be successful in so many ways. It has helped me to continue, you know, getting my education, but not only that, but fight for the education opportunities for other women like myself, but for other children who had similar stories like mine. And, you know, I said in a different interview this past week, like coming here to the US and specifically Michigan, I have never been able to call anywhere else home, like not even my homeland, my birthland, until I moved here to Michigan, where I have found a community of great support, a community that always has open arms to helping the foreigner, helping the immigrants, helping the, you know, those who are in great need. And I haven't witnessed this type of hospitality, this type of support anywhere else. And I have so much to thank Michigan for, and I'm so glad to be here.
Got questions coming in. When you came to the US, what was it originally like? How long ago was that?
Ooh, that was, you know, it actually took me like until my freshman year in college to realize I was in the US, because my brain still hadn't been able to process it, because there was still so much trauma just consuming my mind and my body and everything. But I think from the times that I remembered in my first days here in the US, I guess like I had a lot of questions, and at the same time, like, I just couldn't believe that I was here, because that was like an impossible thing to happen in my head, you know, coming from like a lot of poverty, coming from the type of background that I had come. Like, when you think of going to America, like, it's almost like a fairy tale. And so for me to have had made it here, it was just absolutely insane. Like, I literally don't know how to explain it, because I really was speechless. And I remember like seeing women and girls like wearing skirts and everything. And so it took me a really, really long time to like ease into that, because, you know, I had to like cover up all my life there. And I remember like the first time I wore shorts, and the first time I wore a shirt like without sleeves, I was just like freaking out. I was like under so much stress. But then, you know, like over time I got to know the American culture. I got to meet more people and learn about living here. And I just grew in love with being here, and, you know, with all the opportunities that are here, with how passionate people are here, whether they agree or disagree on certain things, the passion is still there. And there was a lot that was inspiring me, a lot that was given to me that I wanted to share with the rest of the world.
What year did you move here?
It was the end of 2014, either that or like early 2015. I don't have a clear memory of it right now.
It's okay. I was just curious what the world was like when you moved. So how did you actually end up in Michigan?
Yeah. So I had been at a boarding school in Texas, and a lot of circumstances changed during all of that with my academic circumstances. And I had a conversation with my mom to where like if I wanted to stay in the US, I had to apply to political asylum, because I no longer had the funds to continue my education or go back home. And my dad had just recently passed, and my mom, when I told her that I'm thinking of returning to Afghanistan, she lost it. She was begging me to not return, and she was just so afraid. She was so scared of that happening, of me being there, even though she longed to see me. She was like, we fought so much for you to be able to get this opportunity. And if you come here, you might never be able to see that day again. If you come here, you could be forced into marriage by your uncles, to men who may be 30, 40 years older than you. And if you come here, I can't provide for you. There's so many things that could happen, because my mom had been playing the role of mom and dad, and that was already very, very difficult. And so if I returned home, that would have caused a lot of attention, and that would have caused more harm to my family. And after hearing her just sobbing over the phone and all the different things that could have gone wrong, and she reminded me of the times that she had gotten beaten up trying to walk me to school. And
oh, you're fine. As moms, we will do anything to protect our children.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it right there, right?
Yeah.
And so I would sacrifice seeing my kids absolutely to make and ensure their happiness. And that's all your mom wanted for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I got connected here with a former teacher that had subbed for my 4th grade teacher back at home. And she had just moved to Michigan, and, she was come here, and she helped me enroll at a school here in town, and I got to stay with her until I went to college, and it changed my life.
I love that. Stephanie is asking, how can we best help Afghans that are currently moving into our communities, and what made the biggest difference for you when you moved?
Yeah, I think I've been thinking about that a lot, and the things that helped me the most were really like the intangible things, like quality time. You want to like invest that time in these Afghans. You want to, these people are coming from a lot of trauma and war and violence, and being here is very difficult because they're starting from zero, and you can help them like with ESL. You can literally just sit down with them, have tea, just like teach them phrases. But then on top of that, trying to get them connected with resources in the community that will help them get back on their feet. A lot of these people that are coming here were students back at home. They had businesses, or, a lot of them need that help to get back into the careers that they had fought so hard to get into. And even here, even if it is like registering them at the community college, things like that, or even driving them to their dentist appointment, those simple things help them in so many ways. Like, I can't even tell you how impactful that is. It really is like the small things that you do that will make a lot of changes in these immigrants' lives. Like a lot of, the Afghans that I have interacted with, that I have been helping to resettle here in Michigan, they need needles, threads, fabrics, because, they're having a hard time finding clothing that they're comfortable in wearing back at home. So they're able to make those, here at their own homes or the hotels that they're staying until they can get fully resettled. And on top of that, like making time to go visit them, or like even take them to go see the city, letting them know that they're not alone in any of this. I could go on about, the different ways that you could touch these lives, but those are like the small things that I have seen, cause so much improvement and assistance in their lives.
You mentioned the sewing and the fabric. Do you want to talk, give you the platform for a second to talk about Sew True products?
Sure, yeah. So I guess it's kind of like a required skill for you to have as an Afghan woman, like growing up back at home. And at the beginning of the pandemic, when like all the schools shut down and everyone had to leave the dorms, I moved back in here with my adopted family, and we had a pile of Goodwill clothes. And I remember I was trying to like complete one of my assignments for my classes, but I could not help like listening to the news that was playing like over and over all day long about how, on top of the elderly, the homeless are the second most vulnerable that's being hit the hardest by the pandemic. And it was really touching to me. It really resonated with me because I have had similar experiences in the past as them. And, around that time, all the homeless shelters had closed down, and that's where they go to eat, to shower, to sleep, and, get so many other resources that they need to survive. And it was really hard to know that their main way of getting help is no longer available. So I started sewing masks, and we would go downtown and like just, give them out and pass them out. And over time, people would stop by and like drop money on the road, and then like pull up their windows. You're like, we'll take 3. And so people started, like ordering more and requesting masks. And so I've eventually turned it into a small social enterprise where the profits would go to, covering all the costs for all the materials that I had to use while making masks, and then the rest of the profits would also cover like hygiene items, food items that would go to the homeless community until the shelters opened back up. And then I still continued to dedicate the mission of So True to helping others in the community. Like through it, I was able to support the tuition of 4 children, my nieces and my nephew, who are back at home and great leaders, you know, in their community. And, you know, a few other college students with very, very small needs like groceries and things like that. And but then as it was also like so therapeutic for me, you know, producing all these things that I had learned, you know, in my motherland and turning them into products to help someone else in the community that really needed it.
That's so beautiful. So to wrap us up, are you working on, I know you kind of mentioned that you'd like to write another book. Are you working on anything, or are you just on tour for this book? And
yeah, I would say a combination of both of those. I am on tour for the book, but then I have also, I guess, have ideas of, you know, what for a next book that I have in mind.
And how do people find you and follow you and learn more about So True?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am available on social media. You can find me on Facebook. There's my Facebook page, Freshta Speaks, or there's my personal Freshta Tori Jan, and it would be the same on Instagram. And I also have an advocacy page that's called Hazara Advocates USA that I hope you look into after you read the book. And then there's also my small business page where you can also look into if you want to help others in the community.
Thank you so much, Freshta. Everybody, we'll clap for you. You can't hear everybody, but we're going to clap for you. Everybody, if you haven't picked up your copy yet, Schulers will have signed copies, hopefully in the next week. We're going to set that up with Freshta to come and sign some copies. Thank you so much, Freshta, for your time this evening. And I hope everyone goes out and buys a copy.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful night.
Guys. Yeah. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.